Iran is the biggest jail for media and journalists. Since the reformists came to power in 1996, fundamental groups tried to shut down the newspapers and to limit their engagement. Many newspapers were closed during the last 10 years, but after Ahmadinejad became Iran's president, the number of banned newspapers and magazines increased. Many journalists were sent to prisons and lost their jobs. Journalists in Iran fear for their future. But after the disputed elections in June 2009, their lives are in danger. Iranian authorities are currently holding at least 47 journalists in prison, more than any country has imprisoned since 1996, according to a new survey conducted by the Committee to Protect Journalists. While many of the detainees were arrested in the aftermath of the disputed June elections, CPJ's survey found that authorities are continuing to wage an aggressive campaign to round up independent and opposition journalists. In the last 2 months alone, at least 26 journalists have been jailed. The press crackdown in Iran demonstrates that authorities continue to fear the exchange of new ideas and information. Current detainees include internationally known figures such as Emadeddin Baghi, an author and human rights defender, and Mashallah Shamsul-Vaezin, an award-winning editor and press advocate. They also include journalists Mohammad Davari, an editor who helped expose prisoner abuse at the Kahrizak Detention Center, and Shiva Nazar Ahari, a human rights reporter who has been jailed twice in the last 8 months. In most cases, authorities have filed vague anti-state charges such as propagation against the regime, insulting authorities, and disrupting public order. But many cases are shrouded in secrecy without even disclosing formal charges. Some detainees have already been sentenced to lengthy prison terms, lashes, internal exile, and lifetime bans on writing and other social and political activities. One is on death row. The cases of many others are pending. At least 2 face heresy charges that, upon conviction, would bring the death penalty.
You can be accused anytime of espionage, of collaborating with foreigners and undermining the security of the state.
A government who uses religion to suppress people, who diverts the freedom of its own people, even if that freedom might be checking a website or answering to an email.
Their newspapers, their publications are constantly shut down. They lose their jobs, they lose the source of income, while their readers expect from them to cover the subjects that they're covering very thoroughly and aggressively.
Being a journalist in Iran is one of the most dangerous and insecure jobs in one of the most dangerous and insecure countries in the world.
As a photographer in Iran, but after receiving uncommon pressure from the government on all the media members, I decided to leave Iran for my safety, like others.
من یک خبرنگار ایرانی هستم و برای جریان انتخابات خرداد 88.
I'm an Iranian journalist, and after the June 2009 elections that were faced with such tragedies, my husband and I were forced to leave the country after 6 months of activity.
The government who's leading in Iran right now is a modern Taliban.
In light of the Iranian government's ongoing crackdown, CPJ will conduct monthly surveys of journalists imprisoned in Iran. CPJ normally conducts a worldwide survey of jailed journalists each December. Iran is now the world's leading jailer of journalists. China was holding 24 journalists behind bars when CPJ conducted its worldwide census on December 1, 2009. Now journalists are locked away among other prisoners. Numerous diseases threaten their health. News from prisons show that the HIV virus threatens journalists and political activists. Mahdieh Mohammadi, Ahmad Zaidabadi's wife, expressed her concern over her husband's conditions. Many journalists are forced to leave Iran for other countries like Turkey, France, India, and others. Currently, 70 journalists are in Turkey. They face economic problems and an unknown future.
The work of a journalist is to criticize governments. If they aren't, then they're not doing their job. We're not here to encourage them. Journalists in Iran help democracy, and they work toward free information and journalism. We were under a lot of pressure.
We've had psychological pressure. Our friends are imprisoned. We try to move forward, even though we have no job security and our health is in danger. We are doing something that's the responsibility of all journalists. We want to reach our final goal of victory for the Green Movement and creating a democracy in Iran.
Last year I was imprisoned for 100 days in Evin prison. I was very fortunate to be freed, and I think that one of the things that helped me to be freed was the large amount of support I got from people all over the world. And I hope that similar support can be given to others who are still in prison, as well as many Iranian journalists who have had to flee the country. If they had stayed in Iran, there's no telling what might have happened to them.
Iran has become the world's largest prison for journalists. In June 2009, 90 journalists were held in prison in Iran. Well-known journalists such as Ahmad Zaidabadi, Emadeddin Baghi, Isa Saharkhiz, Masoud Bastani, Sasan Aghaei, and Hengame Shahidi are still in prison. In addition to widespread arrests, the ongoing closure of newspapers is depriving numerous journalists of any livelihood and encouraging many to flee abroad.